I am one of the organizers of the Highland Park Community Rally here today. Thank you so much for being here. We are here today in response to the horrific shooting that happened here in Highland Park on July 4th. We are here today to grieve and to heal and to honor those that we've lost with action. Before our programming begins today, I want to thank all of you who are in attendance today. I also want to thank our local grassroots organizations who are helping sponsor this event. That is March for Our Lives, Moms Demand Action, Planned Parenthood Illinois Action Fund, 10th Dems, Jack Pack, Lake County Dems, and Maureen Township Dems. Can we give them a round of applause? I also want to thank all of our first responders who on the day of the shooting ran towards danger. I also want to thank all of the law enforcement who are present today here in Highland Park, the federal agencies who are keeping us safe. When the shooting unfolded in downtown Highland Park, there are everyday heroes among us who ran in to help, civilians who acted quickly and ran towards danger to save lives. Please join me in thanking them. I also want to thank all of the medical professionals here at Highland Park Hospital and at hospitals all around the area who treated the survivors and the wounded, and their actions saved lives. Lastly, I would like to thank everybody here who made today possible. So that is all of our fellow organizers, the community, our volunteers, and especially every single person who reached out and asked how they could help, who didn't know what exactly they could do, but who knew that they wanted to support their community after the tragedy. And we are Highland Park Strong. We want to begin our programming with a moment of silence. So I am going to read the names of the victims, and I ask that you please silence your cell phones and take this moment to heal and to remember those that we lost this week. Catherine Goldstein. Irina and Kevin McCarthy. Steve Strauss. Jackie Sundheim. Nicholas Toledo. Eduardo Uvaldo. In this last moment is for every single person injured or wounded, affected or traumatized by this week's shooting. It is now my pleasure to introduce Derek Purcell, a musician with Cat Food Records, who's going to sing a song for us. Derek.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us on the sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. Wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Oh, yes, we can all live as one. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. My name is Rachel Jacoby. I'm a Highland Park resident and one of the organizers for this rally. I have a confession to make. I didn't want to be here today. I didn't want to be here today because I wanted to be at home making cookies with my sister, or watching a movie with my parents, or hanging out at the beach with my friends. I'm doing none of those things today. Instead, I'm standing here alongside so many members of our community, grieving the ones we've lost and demanding change. I see so many familiar faces in this crowd because we were just here. I stood in this very spot 4 weeks ago on June 11th, along with more than 400 members of our community, and called for an end to gun violence. I remember leaving the march feeling inspired, feeling hopeful, feeling grateful to be part of a community dedicated to fighting for change. That shattered on this past Monday morning, July 4th, when I learned of the parade shooting. As a young person in America, I've been training my entire life for the moment I would be affected by gun violence. From as young as 5 years old, I remember learning how to hide behind tables in case a bad guy came to my school. It became instinctual to keep an eye on emergency exits in public places, movie theaters, gyms, restaurants, shopping malls, parades. I knew that I was first supposed to run, then hide, then fight. And yet, even with a lifetime of preparation, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for the way my heart skipped a beat when I got a text from my mom that said active shooter at the Highland Park parade. I wasn't prepared for the way my hometown had transformed into a crime scene. I wasn't prepared to grieve my friends and my neighbors. And that's because this is not normal. Does anyone know how many school shootings our G7 peers had between 2009 and 2018? That's Germany, France, Japan, Canada, the UK, and Italy. They had 5. How about the United States in the same period? 288. That's nearly 60 times more. This is not normal. I'm here today to remind us that it doesn't have to be this way. We deserve to live in a country where guns aren't the leading cause of death for children. We deserve to go to school and focus on our lessons in chemistry and history and algebra and writing, and not also have to learn how to survive an active shooter. We deserve a future free from gun violence. So how do we do that? First, we ban assault weapons. There is absolutely no reason any civilian needs access to a weapon of war. Second, we pass universal background checks. We know over 90% of Americans support passing universal background checks, regardless of age, of gender, of geography, of political affiliation. Without universal background checks, even though Illinois has strict gun laws, we are only as safe as our neighbors. So we are at the mercy of lax gun laws in states like Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio, Missouri, and more. Their lax gun laws make us all less safe. The last thing we do is we hold our politicians accountable with our power at the ballot box. If they aren't passing laws that keep us safe, we vote them out. If our politicians in Washington refuse to pass gun safety legislation, what do we do?
Vote them out!
What do we do?
Vote them out!
So even though I didn't want to be here today, and I know no one in this crowd did, I want to remind us that the anger and sadness we feel right now has purpose. We can channel our anger into action and our sadness into hope. Let today be just the beginning as we honor victims and survivors of the July 4th shooting through action. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce Anthony McIntyre.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony McIntyre. I am the founder and CEO of the Ant Mound Foundation. On behalf of the Ant Mound Foundation, I would like to send my heartfelt condolences to all of the victims and the families affected by the recent shooting in Highland Park. These type shootings are becoming more and more prevalent throughout our communities. They are extremely harmful to communities at large. We need to figure out a way to come together as a collective to deal with this problem head on. I am here standing in solidarity with you all because you all are a part of my community. No, I don't live in Highland Park. I actually live in Waukegan. But I do live in America. And with that, you all are part of my community. If you all see me as a part of your community, you have to also look at the communities of Waukegan, North Chicago, Zion, and many other similar communities across the country. We must recognize that problems of gun violence shouldn't only be condemned when it affects wealthy communities. These shootings happen every single day in Black and brown communities across the country. We must have the same outrage when a shooting happens in North Chicago as we do when it happens in Highland Park. If we all agree that deaths of innocent people due to guns being in the hands of those who should not have them is wrong, then all of gun violence victims should be treated equally. We should mourn for them all the same. We should not embolden those who perform these cowardly acts into thinking that they are indiscriminately killed in certain communities because that population is not equal. I can guarantee you all one thing. The pain of a mother in North Chicago, Waukegan, or Zion is the same as the pain of a mother here in Highland Park. We must look at this as a universal problem of guns being in the hands of people who should not have them. Let's deal with this equitably If we do, I believe that we will greatly minimize the chances of something like this happening again. The Ant Mound Foundation is a local community organization, and we have a great record of taking guns off the streets. It's something that we pride ourselves in. We have taken dozens, many dozens of guns off of the streets in this area. Guns that could easily have been used the same as the gun in the carnage of July 4th. I personally have a different perspective than many on this subject. Yesterday was the 9-year anniversary of my release from prison, where I sat for 19 years for a murder I did not commit. So my perspective is slightly different. I've been on both sides of the aisle of guns as a result of joining a street gang when I was 13, all the way until the point now where I feel like the need is to take the guns off of the streets from those who shouldn't have them. There is a unique dynamic here that I'm finding it difficult to sort of put into words, and I really want to tear this paper up. The damage across this country in these communities as a result of individuals with these guns that shouldn't have them is deep, and it disturbs me on a different level when you see the difference in how some of it is treated across the country. Reiterating but not wanting to repeat that the pain is the same no matter where you are around this country. We have to do better. We have to be more empathetic. We need to recognize that this isn't only a problem when it affects you directly, like right now. If you don't address the issues that are going on with guns across this country in communities like Waukegan, North Chicago, and Zion, you're going to always have these problems here in Highland Park. I want to respect the clock. I was told 3 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here. But I do want to say this. Please, please, please understand that organizations like the Ant Mound Foundation, we're small, but we're effective. We're the ones that touch the individuals on the ground level, and we need your support. If you don't support us, it hurts us. If you support us, you help yourself. So my hope is that you all would do what you can to support smaller nonprofit organizations in these communities that are trying their best to save lives. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Weininger. Rebecca leads the domestic violence practice at the North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic here in Highland Park. She is a parent and a community member. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Weininger. I do a fair amount of public speaking in my professional life, but today I'm relying on these notes because since July 4th, I've been distracted. I have problems remembering things, and I am not okay, and it is okay if you are not okay. I have lived in Highland Park for 9 years. I grew up in Evanston. I moved here from Lakeview, but I love this city for welcoming me and my oldest daughter from the moment we moved here. Now I live in Sunset Woods with my husband and our 4 kids who are 15, 14, 11, and 2. She's a blessing. I was at the parade on the 4th with my husband and our 2-year-old. We are victims and we are survivors. I serve my community by working right here in Highland Park as a legal aid attorney representing survivors of domestic violence, predominantly women and children. Before I was a victim of gun violence, I knew well the terror of guns. I conduct risk assessments for each client, and I have the responsibility of helping women living with domestic violence understand how much more likely she is to be killed by her abuser if there are guns in her house. As a domestic violence attorney, I go through the agony of representing and therefore caring about people who are in relationships with abusers who should love them, but instead practice a power and control over them that assumes a wholly different dimension once a firearm is in the house. The mere presence of a gun is a threat used to control our client's behavior and actions. And once that gun is picked up and used as a threat, that threat trajectory goes only one way. The women and children in those homes behind those doors live with that constant fear. The attorneys in my office who represent those women and children and men live in fear for their clients. The ripple effect of the fear caused by guns and the potential for gun violence is broad and it's insidious. You all have felt that ripple since July 4th. The relationship between domestic violence and gun violence is undeniable. There is no daylight between them. The majority of mass shootings begin with domestic violence. They are mutual epidemics. Shame on us to ignore either. And domestic violence is here in Highland Park and Highwood in great numbers. It does not discriminate between race, gender, socioeconomic status, or religion. It is here and it needs your attention. But as a mother and as your neighbor, and unfortunately another survivor of gun violence, standing with you and among you and holding each and every one of you with me, I can tell you we are not hopeless. Violence is a learned behavior. Hatred is taught. Loudly and actively supporting gun reform is an act of love. I will live that love out loud. Care enough to practice and teach love by getting involved in children's lives. Create safe spaces for people you know and for people you could meet on your journeys to tell you that they are in abusive relationships. Actively listen when someone says that their partner controls who they talk to or when they leave the house. Learn the signal and what to do when you see it. Learn about the abundant resources right here in our community. Some of them are here today, like my clinic, the North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic, that was founded 7 years ago. Whoop, whoop. Because among other things, there was such a need in Highland Park and Highwood for domestic violence legal services. Rededicate yourself to talking to your children about healthy relationships, about consent, and about self-worth. Talk to your girls. Talk to your boys. Listen to your girls. Listen to your boys. These are acts of love. We can practice love. We will end domestic violence. We will end gun violence. We will do it. Take care of each other.
Thank you, Rebecca. Our next speaker is Mayta Levin from Lake County United.
My name is Mayta Levin. This is Belia Mandel Castleberry, and we are representing Lake County United, a community organizing group. Thank you. I'm not exactly tall. A community organizing group composed of faith-based and not-for-profit organizations like Congregation Macomb Solel Lakeside and Trinity Episcopal Church in Highland Park, as well as North Shore Unitarian Church and St. Gregory's Episcopal Church in Deerfield, and faith-based organizations and not-for-profits all through Lake County. We are working with our sister organizations in the Chicago metropolitan area and throughout the county and throughout the country on gun violence prevention and the related areas of access to mental health care and affordable and supportive housing. While access to mental health care and affordable housing was at our doorstep, some of us, gun violence seemed far away. Now we belong to a club whose membership we never sought. Through our parent organization, Metro IAF, we created Do Not Stand Idly By initiative, an outgrowth of a similar idea in Chicago. Working locally, regionally, and nationally, the Do Not Stand Idly By campaign has developed a multifaceted strategy to push the gun industry, including manufacturers, retailers, and investors, to curb irresponsible practices and prioritize safety. To date, we have organized officials from 135 municipalities, counties, and states to ask gun manufacturers to develop gun safety technologies and sever ties with bad apple gun dealers. Thank you. We have launched the Gun Safety Consortium. We have persuaded the Obama administration to develop specifications for federal purchase of smart guns and collaborated with partner organizations to organize the shareholders of the two largest publicly traded gun companies, forcing management to issue annual reports to shareholders. Hello? Hello? Okay. The gun manufacturers didn't like it. Forcing management to issue annual reports to shareholders on their performance related to gun safety. We learned that 40% of the guns sold in the United States are purchased by local and state police departments, federal law enforcement, and the military. We are pushing them to leverage their buying power to promote safe practices. The National Gun Safety Consortium is composed of municipalities who have agreed to work together to promote the development of gun safety technologies, focusing on locking devices that gun owners will actually use, including and eventually smart guns, which incorporate personalized locks into the guns. Law enforcement leaders from 16 jurisdictions are now testing and evaluating the most promising gun safety devices, trying to identify those that could be promoted for civilian use with an eye toward reducing suicides, gun theft, and accidental shootings. Even a 2-year-old can pick up a loaded and unsecured gun and pull the trigger. Ask your local law enforcement agencies if they have joined this effort. Have your synagogues, your churches, your mosques, and temples join us in Lake County United. Work with us on gun safety and the related work we are doing in the areas of access to mental health care and affordable housing.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our Lake County State's Attorney, Eric Reinhardt.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Reinhardt. I'm the Lake County State's Attorney. I am honored and devastated to be here today. It is devastating what has happened to our Lake County community. It is devastating what we are all going through, and it is devastating what the victims who have lost their loved ones, who are burying their loved ones, who have had their flesh torn, who have run from gunshots, who have children who have run from gunshots. I have 2 8-year-old boys. They were not there. I think about it every few minutes that they could have been. When I go to the family center, which is an amazing operation I'll talk about in a moment, you see children. You see children holding stuffed animals. And it is devastating to think about it. I've been there a couple times, and it is very difficult to see the number of people that are there, the number of people who are affected by this. But it is amazing to see the number of people who are helping. And it is amazing to see the number of people who are here. And it is amazing to think about the strength that is coming out of this. We must move forward even as we are not healed. We will not be healed for a while. We're not done healing today when we leave. The people who have lost loved ones, the people who have been hurt, the people who have been psychologically affected will feel it for the rest of their lives. They will not heal. And everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey will be different. And one thing I want to say as the state's attorney, and then I'm going to say a few things not as the state's attorney. The state's attorney's office is here to support everyone that's here, everyone that is at the family center. I have to compliment our unbelievable counselors that have been there since July 5th. I have to give them a round of applause. The FBI victim support team is amazing. It's amazing. And I apologize if I'm underestimating it. Folks, you have to understand there are probably 50 victim support professionals just from the FBI, and probably another 100 volunteers, members of the Lake County the Lake County Health Department. It is amazing to see this group. And from the ripples of our pain, from those who have been hurt, I draw strength from the ripples of hope that we see in the Family Center. And the state's attorney's office will continue to be on the ground in Highland Park for as long as necessary, and we will support the victims and survivors of this devastating attack for as long as we need to. Okay, now I'm going to say something not as a state's attorney, not really. I'm always the state's attorney, but we have to take that strength and turn it into action. Whether we are talking about a mass shooting, whether we are talking about the violence that Anthony talked about, whether we are talking about domestic violence and guns that Rebecca spoke about, whether we're talking about accidents, whether we're talking about suicides. And I've never actually said this before, but I sort of feel that maybe somebody watching from above thought I should. I lost a good friend to a gun suicide. He stole a gun from a gun shop and killed himself with it. I've never really publicly shared that, but I felt I had to. All of these have one thing in common. Every single thing. They're destroying lives, and it is because there's too much access to guns. And I would urge us to look at every aspect of the problem. If I was a lawyer, and I am every single person's lawyer here, as your lawyer, if I said I only want to talk about one piece of evidence against this offender, you'd be pretty upset. You'd say, Ms. Reinhardt, isn't there more evidence? There is. We have to stop having debates in this country on cable TV shows about one solution. It's not working. Just as a lawyer shouldn't make one argument for something, we should not use one thing to protect the preciousness of life. Look at all of the causes. Look at whether it is economic inequity, whether it is racial inequities, whether it is domestic violence, whether it is not doing enough in our schools, whether it is not focusing enough on mental health. And separate from all of those causes, the offender in Uvalde, the offender in Las Vegas, and many, many more were able to get the gun legally. We cannot have a single point of failure. We cannot rely upon a father. We cannot rely upon a mother or a grandparent to make the phone call to the police. Should they? Of course. But why are we relying on one thing? We should have an assault weapon ban. We have to increase information, training, and education about the red flag laws. Google Illinois red flag law. That's it. Google it. The Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, he's working very hard to increase education to law enforcement, but we've got to turbocharge it. We have got to pour gasoline on to these education efforts so that law enforcement and everyone else knows what they can do to file for these red flag laws. I want to thank everybody so much for being here. I want to thank everybody for their support. It's been unbelievable. On behalf of the State's Attorney's Office, I want to thank everyone for your support directly to our office. The office stands with all of you, as I said. We will get justice in the courtroom. I promise you that. And we must think about those 7 individuals and their families' loss of freedom. Cooper's loss of freedom, who's hurt real bad. Their freedom matters. And we have to put the debate in those terms, and we have to do everything we can to make sure that this never happens again. Thank you.
Afternoon. Thank you. I've been here talking about this subject too many times. Rachel, thank you for organizing this. You knocked my socks off on June 11th when we organized together. We didn't organize. You organized. I was here with you together.
Yes, you did.
You brought a crowd of people who shared the commitment to end gun violence in this country. We walked around the area. We reconvened here. We spoke about the need to reduce gun violence. I was back here Thursday night. And we're here again today. We're hurting. I'm hurting. Our community is crestfallen. What is every year one of the greatest moments in this community when families gathered, parents, grandparents, grandchildren, shoulder to shoulder, united as one, we celebrate the birth of our nation, our independence and our freedom. We were doing that last Monday, when in an instant, everything changed. An evil monster acquired a weapon of war and destroyed lives, shattered families, and devastated our community. Enough is enough. We lost 7 very special souls that day. I've cried for them, we've all cried for them. My heart's broken. I think it's important that we repeat their names, that we have the moments of silence. I think it's important that we know a little bit more about them. Eduardo Ubaldo was a grandfather, 13 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, 4 daughters. He loved bowling. His family is broken. They loved their father and their grandfather. His wife loved her husband with all of her spirit. Nicholas Toledo was visiting his family from Mexico. They gathered, they had shirts on. There's 25 grandchildren. They're finding strength from each other because their grandfather loved them and they loved him and the life that he provided for them. Jackie Sundheim was a rock of her community. Her reach touched so many people. Her passion lifted so many people. Her loss affected them, but her memory will lift them. Steve Strauss, also a grandfather, 2 sons, grew up here in Highland Park, 4 grandchildren. He loved music, he loved the symphony, he loved going to the art museum, and he loved coming to the Highland Park Independence Day Parade. Irina and Kevin McCarthy, proud, loving parents of 2-year-old Aiden. Kevin's last act is the act of a loving father to shield his son with his body, and he gave his own life. Aiden's too young to know at this point what happened, but Aiden will live with this for the rest of his life. Catherine Goldstein, wife, mother, 2 daughters in their 20s. You may have seen the interview. Her daughter was with her when she was shot and killed and said, "Mom, I love you, but I can't stay. He's still shooting." But she will be with her children for the rest of their lives. These people leave a legacy. We will remember their lives, and we must make sure that their memory is forever a blessing. We are really hurting. Anthony, my friend, you talked about the need to connect with communities. The funerals happening yesterday and today are happening not just here in Highland Park, but families in Waukegan. We are one community. But Anthony is absolutely right. The grief we feel today, we need to feel each and every day. There have been more than 300 mass shootings in this country this year. almost 2 each and every day. And there are shootings in our streets. There are shootings in homes from domestic violence. There are suicides. 111 people die every day from gun violence in this country. Enough is enough. My friend, State's Attorney Reinhardt, you have been a rock. The Highland Park Police, the area police forces, and fire departments, the people who came together to save lives, to identify, locate, and arrest the killer. We owe them a great debt of gratitude, but we also need to understand they are suffering as well. We need to support them every bit as much as they support us. We're hurting and we're angry. We will recover from the pain. I am going to hold on to this anger. We must ban assault weapons. We introduced legislation in the House March of last year. I am going to do everything I can to get that legislation to the floor and send it to the Senate. The House has already passed legislation twice. Universal background checks. 90% of our country supports the idea of everyone going through a background check before they can buy a gun. Let's get that through the Senate. And let's do everything we can to support the communities that are suffering from gun violence. Whether it's mass shootings or domestic violence or shootings in the street, this is the greatest country in the world. But we aren't living up to our potential when we aren't keeping our kids safe in their schools, people safe in the grocery stores, or folks and families gathered on an Independence Day parade, safe to go home and celebrate and live another day. Highland Park is strong. We will heal and we will recover. I've been looking at this tree over here. Now the sun's in my eyes. But if you look at this tree, it's got a strong trunk and then it branches out into 4 sweeping bows. But there's one place that there was a part of it cut. May have been recently, may have been a long time ago. This tree stands strong. It continues to grow. But the severed part of that tree will forever be a part of its essence. Independence Day, 2022, our community was shattered. But we will continue to grow. We will be strong. Catherine Goldstein, Irina and Kevin McCarthy, Stephen Strauss, Jackie Sondheim, Nicholas Toledo, Edward Uvaldo, Connor Roberts, and everyone else who was hurt. These people will forever be a part of who we are as a community. We're not okay, and that's okay. But we have each other. We will lean on each other. We will stay strong, Highland Park strong, and we will change the world so what we endured 5 days ago doesn't happen in other communities. We will be strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Schneider. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of the co-organizers for today's event, and the leader of Illinois Moms Demand Action, Karen Flieger.
First, I want to thank Representative Schneider. Many of you probably know some names in Congress that fight really hard on this issue, you know, the Chris Murphys and all, but we have Brad Schneider. So you are in good hands. But he needs you. He has been in this fight. I've known Brad for more than 5 years through this work. To think about what it felt like to wake up and start your day and then have this happen here, when you've been fighting this hard for this many years, he needs you too. So please have his back, not just in the days to come, in the months and weeks and years to come when he is fighting for all of us. I want to thank Rachel Jacoby. I've only gotten to know Rachel since I think Tuesday or Wednesday. We've had many phone calls since then, but I can say without a doubt that Rachel is the best of Highland Park. My name is Karen Flieger, but some of you who grew up around here in the 70s, 80s, 90s might have known me as Karen Myers. I was a shy kid with curly hair, awkward, growing up here, and when, Sunset Park, when I climbed on the structures here at Park District Day Camp and went to Lincoln School, went to Edgewood and Highland Park High School and graduated in 1993. I bring Highland Park with me to you today in my work as co-lead of Illinois Moms Demand Action with my co-lead Valerie Burgess. 5 years ago, I stood in front of a room just over in Northbrook after the 2016 presidential election. I was wearing this shirt. I spoke to a room full of people who were terrified and angry about what had just happened in that election. I looked at them and told them that this was the NRA's hire. The NRA spent $50 million on the 2016 election, a number that's dwarfed in today's figures, but shows you exactly what they were doing. Shortly later, when the president met with advisors to select his first pick for a Supreme Court seat, NRA President Wayne LaPierre was directly to his right. Those are NRA hires. Yes, boo, exactly. It's totally okay to boo the NRA. But it's more than that. It's a more complicated story. It's a story that you're hearing many angles on today. And it's about all of us recognizing that the way we live is not tenable. And that it will take all of us to change this. I'm not just blaming Republicans. I am not just blaming Democrats. I'm not blaming independents. I'm not blaming people of a certain gender or people of a certain age. We all have a role to make change. And if you think I'm not talking to you, I am. I'm here today for those who have lost loved ones to gun violence who I know personally. I'm remembering Alexandria Burgos and Craig Williams and Ricky Pike and Don Schemmel and too many to name. It breaks my heart that my hometown has joined this club that nobody wants to join. Sometimes it makes me feel like what I'm doing isn't mattering. But I have my moment, I wipe out the tears, and I get up and I keep going because this wall will come down. I want to look you in the eye now, though, and say, this will change. I know it will, because I have to tell you, we are all really pissed off. We are a force pushing on that wall to come down, and it is taking too long, but it will come down. And because I know, because it will have all of us pushing. All of our words today have been beautiful and incredible and important, and our music. But I'm here to give you some actions to take. So pull out your phones. I also want you to know after we're wrapping up, there are actions over here. There's an activity center where you can take specific actions because we have to turn our words into pounding the pavement with actions. Number 1, push the Illinois legislature to prioritize gun violence prevention in a special session. This must happen. Don't assume it will. Make it happen. Contact your state representatives, your state senators. Ask everybody you know to do so. Call the people leading the Senate and leading the House in our state and say, we want a special session prioritizing gun violence prevention. Two, ask your state representatives and senators to vote yes on HB 5522. This bill was put by my friend, State Representative Maura Hirschauer, and has more than 35 co-sponsors. It will ban military-style weapons, including assault weapons and attachments, 50-gauge caliber rifles and cartridges, and magazines with more than 10 rounds. Weapons of war have no place here. Three, ask everyone you know in Illinois to do the same, to ask their state senators and state representatives to support HB 5522 and push for a special session. Because I will tell you, I know this, our state representatives and our state senators are already doing the right thing. We need people across the state to be pushing for these actions. You know people, tell them. The bill will not get called if it doesn't have the votes. We need to get to a solid 71 votes in the House and 36 in the Senate. It is going to take all of us to get there. We will do it, but we have to push for it. Number 4, join us. Join the movement. We are a movement not just of moms, not just of parents, friends, loved ones, people who have experienced all kinds of gun violence. We want everybody in this movement. We want gun owners. We want reasonable gun owners who are not represented enough in this country. We want all of you helping us. If you want to organize with Moms Demand Action, text the word READY to 64433. Do it now. Join March for Our Lives. Sign up with our co-organizing organizations today are doing such good work to get candidates on the ballot, to get out the vote. Sign up, join the movement. I want you to know that Giffords, Everytown for Gun Safety, GPAC, and more are looking at Illinois gun laws and the gaps and focusing on finding solutions. You are not left alone, but you need to join us. You will likely feel overwhelmed by the choices of what to do. Do it anyways. Go forward. Pick what's right for you. Pick the type of work that's right for you. It's okay if you need to take a break, but keep going. Don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. Pick something and go hard, and don't ever let up. Don't ever, ever give up. And I want to quote one of my favorite quotes, because this is important too, and I need you to hear this too. Anna Marquez Green was killed in Sandy Hook. She was a little girl, she was full of life, and her mom always says to remember Anna, because Anna told her, don't let your fun circuits run dry. Remember to be alive, be human. We're about to invite you to take some actions over here at our activity center. And I'm going to be telling you about some music. Derek Purcell and Terry Abramson, who are Chicago area residents and Grammy Award winning artists who have had a song on the Blues Music Award Album of the Year. They were going to share with you their song No Guns in Heaven, a direct call to action for people in Congress who aren't getting the job done. You can scan their QR code here at the activities table to see their really powerful video. So as we close out today, please go take actions over at our activities table. But I want to ask you one last question, and I ask you this because we are honoring 7 people who are not here today, but it is not just 7 people, it is the thousands around them. And we are honoring the millions of people affected by gun violence every day, whether in Highland Park or all across this country, in Waukegan, Zion, North Chicago, everywhere. I want to ask you, and I need to hear you, are you fired up and ready to go? That was pretty good. Are you fired up and ready to go? Don't forget this moment. Don't forget these people. Don't forget all the words you have heard today. Keep the fire burning. Thank you.
All right. I would like to say a huge thank you to the organizers of this rally here today. I am humbled. I am honored to be here. And as Brad Schneider said, we are all here for each other. We can lean on each other because we are strong. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me.